Hello and welcome to our live. Do you feel like you should have done more with your life? Have you recently come to the realization, the conclusion, the question, the decision, hey, I should have done more with your life? If this is you, this conversation is for you. And this is inspired because I recently got a consultation call, somebody who booked a call with me. And this is what she says: I feel like I should have done more with my life. I have not appropriately advocated for myself in all areas of my life. I have kept myself small to help others feel better about themselves, and then they abuse me. I'd like to change that dynamic. Now, I don't know the age of this lady, but what I can tell you, and what you can probably sense underneath all of this, is frustration, unhappiness, sadness, maybe even guilt, resentment, possibly shame, but most importantly, regret. So I want to talk about this with you today because if you have found yourself in a similar situation, and something I hear a lot is, I should be further along. I have nothing to show for. My life isn't good enough. I should have accomplished so much more. Now, it sounds well meaning, but how is that statement helping? Right? I should be further along. It sounds very accusatory, sounds mean spirited, and I kind of understand the intention underneath is actually positive because deep down inside, you know that your potential is so much greater. So, from that perspective, you are right. But rather than accusing yourself and shaming yourself and blaming yourself and pointing fingers, we actually need to go even deeper. We need to look at, what is causing this? That would be number one, that would be a warranted pursuit. Because what if I told you, even though it sounds reasonable, this is not your fault? Here is why. And this is one of the most important things I explain to my clients as a hypnotherapist. Most people don't know this. We as humans, adults, we think we're in control. Yeah, sounds reasonable. We should be in control of our mind. And then we often use logic and reason, willpower, self discipline, hard work. Oh, I'm such a good person, to fix our problems or to get ahead, which sounds very reasonable, sounds like it should work. Except here's what nobody tells you: nobody tells you what controls your mind. What is it that controls your mind? Because the part that controls your mind is actually in charge. And if that part has a program in it, obviously I'm talking about the subconscious, right? Which is just a fancy way of saying what you're not conscious of. Subconscious, right? Underneath conscious awareness. And what if I told you, now what I'm reading between the lines, and I'm going to read it to you again because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. This woman shared with me, I feel I should have done more with my life. I have not appropriately advocated for myself in all areas of my life. I have kept myself small to help others feel better about themselves, and then they abuse me. And by the way, this is very common. Very, very, very common. I'd like to change that dynamic. So, what if reading between the lines, I already can tell you, like, not that I'm a mind reader, but as a hypnotherapist, I literally tune into people's energy and I tune into, wait a minute, what is driving this person's behavior? What is driving their emotions? What is driving their beliefs? What is causing this person to act like that? Uplifting everybody else, helping everybody else out, but then she gets left behind. Well, here's what I can guarantee you. What is causing that is a subconscious belief, a program that was installed many, many years ago, most likely when she was a child, where she learned that her job, so to speak, her duty was to people please, to make the people around her happy. My wild guess is that this woman probably had to do a lot of tiptoeing around as a child, if you know what I mean. She probably grew up in a household children are seen, not heard. Chances are, when this person was a little person, she was not allowed to have emotions because that might have been way too inconvenient, way too much. Her opinion certainly didn't matter. And there was not a person in her life that conveyed to her, demonstrated to her, especially when she was a child, you matter. You are important. Your needs are important. We want to know how you feel. You are allowed to express yourself. And so, therefore, what do children do? They adapt, they conform, they obey. And by the way, that's the most intelligent thing they could possibly do because it allows them to survive in a lot of dysfunctional chaos. For most people, they grew up, yeah, heads up. You might, yeah, most, I'm saying this very consciously. No, this is not an accident. I'm not saying this irresponsibly. I'm saying it consciously because I typically get to work with people who have already done and tried everything and it hasn't worked. So most people grew up in a dysfunctional home with parents who did not have the emotional intelligence, who did not have the maturity to actually be a parent the proper way. And so, therefore, a child learns to adapt to that chaos, to that dysfunction. And then a child eventually learns, oh, this is how life should be, this is how I should be, this is the truth. And my job is to listen to the authority figures in my life, to the elders, to the parents, to whoever raises me. And then so often that child, even though as a child they became a people pleaser, very often these patterns continue even as an adult. Even as an adult, this person tries to bend over backwards to get validation, to get respect, to get recognition, to get appreciation, to get approval, which then, of course, causes us to act very needy, which is the least attractive. It's kind of a cringe feeling, right? When you can just tell when somebody tries so hard to please you, they'll do anything, and it's just like not an attractive energy. But we can't blame the person because that's what they learned in childhood, right? If they did tiptoe and if they did, if they were the rescuer for the family, if they were the caretaker, if they just swallowed their emotions down, sure, made it very convenient for all the people. So that's how the child got the praise, the acknowledgement, the validation. And until we change that program, this person's going to do it in adulthood. And now she's paying the price. Now she has been investing all of her energy, her intelligence, her talents, her skills, her time, most likely her money, into other people, which, not that there's something wrong with that, but who's filling your cup? If nobody's filling your cup, you will burn out. And very often, that's why people burn out. It's not because they have too much work, too much stress, that they can't handle the workload. That's not ever why people have burnout. People get burnout, anxiety, and depression because of years, decades of self denial, self abandonment. So something's going to give. And so chances are this person's body is also not well because she's been dealing with this for a long time, which leads to internal stress, which eventually leads to dis-ease. So, wild guess, this person probably has digestive issues, probably has sleep issues, probably gets headaches here and there. So, and again, this is just me mind reading because I recognize this pattern. Again, this is very, very common, very frequent, and it has to stop now. So, and clearly this woman already knows what the problem is, so to speak, but now she's caught and she doesn't know how to get out of her own way. Yeah, because we don't fix this with trying harder and working harder and shaming and blaming herself, calling herself names, and accusing herself, or thinking she needs more willpower. And if you do have a question, please feel free to ask me a question. I'm here for that. um, What a beautiful statement. First thing, we have to face and learn ourselves. Exactly. You need to get to know you. Know thyself, right? In the Bible, it's like literally every religion, every know thyself. And it's so interesting in our society, the word selfish seems to have a very negative connotation. It's almost like, it's disgusting, right? Oh, don't be so selfish. Actually, no. It's your duty. It's your duty as an adult to be selfish, because it's not other people's jobs to sniff out what it is that you want, what your mission, what your passion, what your purpose is. That is for you to declare and decide. But nobody taught us that. We were, right, we are raised, you have to be kind, you have to be a good child, you have to conform, you have to go by the rules, you have to have the good grade. Like, we have been taught, like, literally to become sheeple. People become sheeple because of the society and the programming that we grow up in. And yes, as a kid, obviously you don't have a choice. You have to conform. So please don't blame yourself. But as an adult, you no longer need to subscribe to that, especially if you're sick and tired, especially if your body and your mind, literally, if you're living in a state of frustration, aggravation, tension, depression, anxiety, that's your body screaming, help. So now we got to listen, right? And so, as a hypnotherapist, the first thing that I will help somebody like this is to help her understand, wait a minute, what is causing this behavior? How do you think you got to being like that? And needless to say, very often it had started in childhood, where the child learned, well, my job is to be a people pleaser. Wrong. Bad idea. Yes, when you're a kid. But today, as an adult, you get to change your mind. You get to put back into you. So we got to start with what is causing this. And then number two, now we got to help you change your perspective. Because remember, the program that's in your subconscious is the one that is chirping away at, you're not good enough, you have to help other people, you don't matter, you're not important, don't be so selfish. And so if that, right, if that is the program that controls your mind, what do you want? We got to get rid of that program and replace it with something that will actually serve you. And this is why I remind people, you might think you're in control. No, it's the subconscious program that's in control. So we got to get to the part of what controls your mind. And that's number one. And most people have childhood programming controlling their adult life. And good luck with that, because there's a lot of things in there that are not serving you. Willpower is never the solution. Thinking you need more willpower, you need more self discipline, or that you're not motivated enough, wrong idea. Willpower is in your conscious. We've got to get working with your subconscious if you want to begin to see some amazing results, some incredible outcomes. You want to tap into your potential. You want to develop more self confidence, better self esteem, more courage, more certainty in yourself, where you can regain that self trust. It's in your subconscious, and we got to replace it. It's like, imagine if you had a computer that's a fantastic brand. You paid a lot of money for it. Everybody's raving about this brand, and now you finally got it, and you've been using it for a couple of years, and now things are like glitchy, itchy, slowing down. You're like, what the heck? You take it to the store, right? Instead of blaming the brand and typing harder and rebooting and booting, right? No, we got to look at, wait a minute, maybe there's a glitch in the, or a virus in the software. Lo and behold, there is. So a good technician will be able to identify that very quickly, right? Somebody who's an expert at this, and this is exactly what we do here. I help you find the blind spots, get rid of them so that you can get back in the driver's seat, so that you can be back in control. So again, we don't delete anything, we just replace it, right? And the other thing is, I teach my clients a better way to self-hypnosis. Now that might sound weird, but we all do self-hypnosis all the time. We cannot not. You can call it thoughts. We think all day long, and we all have about 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And depending on those thoughts will determine the quality of your life. And so many people, unfortunately, have limiting beliefs, disempowering thoughts. They shame themselves all day, blame themselves all day, call themselves names. You're a failure. You'll never, that is often what's found in the subconscious. And then, of course, what's the outcome going to be if I beat myself up all day? And for most people, this is rinse, repeat. And until we change that, how could you possibly really tap into your potential, tap into the greatness that you are? You are a walking, talking, breathing miracle. And if you don't work on yourself, then I don't know. I don't know what's more important than you and your health and your wealth from every level, your level of fulfillment, right? So I think I saw, let's see, can overthinking be cured through self hypnosis? Absolutely. And again, let's go back to the root. Why? What would cause somebody to be overthinking? That's a hyper vigilant mind that is ruminating, that is sort of like in a fight, flight, freeze state. Make sense? Now remember, that is a habit. It's not your fault. You didn't install that habit, but this is something you probably learned somewhere down the line, and now it had become a habit. Doesn't serve you because you're constantly worrying, my guess, worrying, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if they don't like me? What if I get rejected? What if that doesn't work? What if I fail? And the mind stays stuck in that loop. Horrible. Because then all you see is this bad outcome. So obviously you're going to hold yourself back, just like this woman. That doesn't serve you. So when you experience, whether we're talking about a bad habit like smoking, vaping, drinking, whatever bad habits, people often think I just have an addictive personality. No, no, don't ever let anybody tell you that. That is wrong. That is so, you know what? You know who? That statement is very convenient and lucrative to a certain system out there. And that, of course, can make a lot of money off of people who have addictive personalities. It sounds so scary, right? That's a bunch of BS, okay? I've never met a person. I have met people who told me, begged me, complained to me, Susan, I've tried everything to stop drinking, stop vaping, stop smoking, stop sexting, stop cheating, and nothing has helped. And then suddenly hypnotherapy actually helped. So where is that whole, you have an addictive, because if that were true, then that would always be true forever. Like I'm 5'4", okay? My height is 5'4". That's like, I can't change that, right? So that's my personality, right? But when we talk about these, like, it's not funny. I laugh, but it's not funny because there's a lot of really bad propaganda out there from certain industries that are trying to have us convinced that we are flawed and that personality and anxiety is a brain chemistry, like blah, blah, blah. I mean, stop, okay? No, wrong. If that were true, hypnotherapy wouldn't work. But it does work. You don't say. So, most importantly, we need to understand that this issue, this whatever you call it, is controlled by something that is out of your conscious awareness. So how could you fix something that you don't understand? You can't. But once you understand it, once it becomes conscious, once you reclaim control over it, excuse me, guess who's in control now? Exactly, you are. And that's what I want for you. so that you can go after whatever it is that, and so that you can finally be your real self. Instead of, again, listening to the program, following, all those trends and how we should be and how we like, there's just so much of that out there where that doesn't serve you. You get to make your own decisions. I did a thing on Facebook this morning about the worst, unhealthiest, cruelest thing you could ever do is self abandonment, right? And yet, that's exactly what we learned in our childhood, that our job is to, um, people please, really. And every institution, every industry out there is on that bandwagon. Every commercial tries to tell us we're not good enough. Every Hollywood movie, you know, look, you're not as pretty, you're not as handsome, you don't have to jet. Like, every institution out there tries to use hypnosis, and they use shame, blame, and guilt and fear. And of course, people who live in fear can be easily controlled. Slam dunk. Every politician out there uses NLP, hypnosis, hypnotherapy. Every salesperson uses hypnosis, NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, by the way. Every trained speaker, leader, every performer, like that. Because why? Because it works. Because it works. It's so easy to influence people when you know how, right? And that has been used on you from the moment you were born. But today you can change that. You can begin to start living your life on your terms, conditions, standards, definitions of success. But first, we got to get rid of these programs, these outdated, that no longer work for you. And once you replace them with something that will serve you, who you really are, then your life is going to change rapidly. Rapidly. I tell my clients, even just one hypnotherapy session with me, I'm not speaking for hypnotherapy as a whole. It's, again, how could I can only speak from my process, Susan Urban Hypnotherapy. I tell every one of my clients, because they often will say, well, how long is it going to take? Well, look, I cannot. That's not responsible. How could I possibly predict how many sessions? What I can tell you for sure, even after just one session, you're going to notice and begin to experience a shift, a powerful, positive shift. Either you start to have more inner peace, you start to have more self-confidence, you start to sleep better, you start to have a better relationship with stress. Something is going to shift. All those ruminating thoughts, those worry loops, those bye-bye. They're going to be replaced with, wait a minute. I feel much calmer. I feel much better. I feel much more certain about the future. And when you feel like that, can you imagine what you can achieve? Exactly. The sky is the limit. And that's your human potential. That is exactly your human potential. The sky is the limit. But you cannot tap into that potential with all the noise on top of it, all the stress. We got to get rid of that. All the ways you have been programmed that you're not good enough and you'll never amount to anything and you should be further along and what's wrong with you and you're broken and yada yada. I mean, there's just like so many people feel deeply, fundamentally inferior, insecure, afraid to put themselves out there. How many, even just coaches alone, have I worked with? They know they're smart, they know they're capable, they know they're intelligent, they know they can help people. But when it comes to self-promotion, propaganda, marketing, they're afraid to put themselves out there because they feel self-conscious, because they don't feel ready yet, they don't feel good enough yet. That's a problem. Because now we're wasting a lot of time. We're leaving a lot of opportunities on the table. We are not pulling the trigger. So now those people that actually need your help, Mr. and Mrs. Coach, are not getting the help because we're sitting in our comfort zone on the sidelines. So there goes that. Number two, now those same people that need your help are being helped by somebody who's probably not as good as you. You are missing out on mega income, mega opportunities. These people want to pay you generously, but they can't because you're not out there. Right? So even from a moral perspective, just even from a moral perspective, if I know that I'm the best brain surgeon in the world and my specialty is to help children with this very rare disease, and I'm the one who's trained in it and I could actually save children's lives, isn't it my duty to go to the mountaintops and shout from the rooftops like, hey, over here, parents, I can help you with that. I can actually fix your child's brain. Like, just from a moral perspective, we got to change the meaning of self-promotion. It's not look at me, look at me, look at me. It's about, hey, you got this problem, I can help you with that. I happen to be an expert at that, but look at what this problem is costing you. Look at how you've been missing out on your life. Look at how it caused you to be unhappy. It impacts your income. It impacts your relationships. It impacts your energy, your confidence. Like, do you think it might be worth fixing? And so those are the conversations we need to have as professionals. And so especially business owners so have a hard time putting themselves out there. It's almost criminal, and that was me too. Before I got into this industry, I was so cringe about being on camera and, oh, I can't do that. Oh, who do I think I am? I'm not polished and perfect. I had all the reasons on why not me and why. Of course, because I used to believe in the old programs that when I was taught as a kid, you don't matter, you're insignificant, you're stupid. In fact, the first 20 years of my life, I had a very severe speech impediment. How convenient. Stuttering. So yeah, of course I felt stupid because I just wanted to be like everybody else. I just wanted to be normal. But I actually felt I was being punished by God. I mean, imagine like, oh, I was just so bad. So it took me a minute to get out of that depression, to get out of that PTSD. And that is really why I do what I do today. Because I realized, oh my goodness, when people are given the right tools and the right approach, they can change. There is no need, people suffer needlessly. Why? Because they go to therapy for decades, they're not helped. Same problem, right? We just talk about the problem. That's not healing. That's not transformation. That's regurgitating the same. Like, I don't stand for that. Like, that's BS. Again, if somebody experiences relief and they've got, great, it's none of my business to intervene with that. But people typically come to me, they're like, I've already done therapy, I've read the books, I've done the self-development courses, I've hired the coaches, I've taken the classes, I've done all kinds of supplements, I've done the breathing techniques, the meditation, the visualization. Ugh, breaks my heart to know how invested people are in their health and wealth, in their well-being, only to find out that they received help that is incompetent, incomplete, insufficient. So yeah, of course they become doubtful, skeptical. I don't blame you. That's healthy. That's really healthy. But again, you can't fix what you don't understand. And remember, your therapist also just talks to your mind. Nobody talks to what is controlling your mind. Hello. Step number 1, we got to talk to the part that controls your mind. I can talk to your mind until you give you all the logic. Oh, you should be further along. Oh, you should do this. Here's another strategy, time management tool, organizational tools. Why don't you schedule things? Sounds like really good advice. Pep talk. I believe in you. Cringe. Ah. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's another BS. I would never tell my clients that. No, please don't feel the fear and do it anyway. That's really bad advice. How about first, we help you get a better relationship with the fear so that you can use the fear as fuel. Sound like a plan? Well, exactly. Anyhow, there's a much better way. A much better way means you have resources inside of you that can help you fix whatever needs to be fixing and help you tap into the potential so that you can actually start to live your life. And that's what we stand for here. If you want to connect with me and have a free consultation, there is a link in my bio. Click on it. We'll meet for 20 minutes on camera and we will chat. We'll get personal and I will answer all your questions. And it is free. I'll see you next time.